Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Lines. It's time to finish the underpainting for this page. It's done. Yes, this is the ugly stage that these kinds of paintings go through. Next week I'm gonna go on and start working on the details, but this week I'm having a little bit of a mixed kind of a video, so real time and time lapse, because well, there's a lot of work that has had to be done, and it might just be a little boring watching the real-time video for the underpainting here, but I'm talking to you about color choices and what I want to achieve with certain things along the way. So there's some parts in real time, don't worry, and I'm gonna see you next week with details. And we are back. Time for more coloring, and I do want to start with Kasseliach and a little bit of that slate gray to have some more of that underpainting done. And my slate gray did dry. That's not helpful. So I'm just gonna mix my own with some black and white. So just a drop of black and a drop of white. And I'm gonna mix those together. So I need a bigger brush for the mixing. And off we go. I'm a little miffed that my gray dried out, but well, I have a second set of these colors, so I gotta check if it works with the other set. So I'm just going around the castle and putting in my underpainting. This might be a little boring to you because it's just the same thing. So what I will do is I will put on some music and speed this up a tiny bit. And if I have something interesting to say, I will go back to real time. And where was I? I'm distracted because I hear Jan on the phone and it's something quite important. So if I have something interesting to say, I will go back to real time and talk. So this might be a little bit of a back and forth today. So for these smaller bricks, I'm just going to add some more of my white paint to the gray that I have already mixed, just to have a little bit of a lighter hue of gray, and I'm just gonna dab that in. Alright, so now that I have that down, it is time for the roof. And there's two chimneys here that do have smoke coming out, so I'm going to use the same gray that I used for my bricks on the smoke of the chimney. Just to have a tiny little bit of, haha, here we go, color repetition. And then I gotta think about what I want the roofs to look like. While I do so, I will color the windows. And for most of them, I'm just gonna use a solid black. Because this is daytime, there wouldn't be much of a light in there. And for those parts here around the window, that window frame pretty much, I'm just going to use the dark gray, the gray that I had mixed with a little bit more black. So I'm just gonna darken that. That should do the trick. All right, so now I would go on to the roof, and I think I want a brownish tone. Don't want to go with gray, so I'm thinking, what do I like? I like the honey brown, which would be this one. Let's see if that one dried out as well, because I had my colors next to this, to the nope, that's fine, next to the what's the word? To my central heating. Ah, gosh, words, difficult. So let's get some honey brown. Alrighty, final bit done. Castle Lear has its underpainting. I think I want to color the sky next, because then I'm done up here. Can move on to the wall and then have the Piper be colored last. Now this is autumn that we're in, and I think it is kind of a bluish grayish sky. So I will take the gray mixture that I have here already and just add a little more white to it for the clouds. I don't want this to be too dark, but also I don't want this to look like the summer sky, you know? So a lot of white to have a very light gray. And I'm going in. Now I have to find all the clouds. So this is the lower one. This is one. So I'm having gray here. And I'm going over the line work. I want to cover that up. And again, I'm turning my page because it's just way more comfortable for me to color in a certain way, and I don't want my hand to cramp. I'm also going to take one of my smaller brushes just so that I can get to some parts a little easier. Or maybe I should move to the smaller brush anyways. So cleaning up the bigger one, going with the smaller one. Those spaces here look rather big. They look like huge sections that you could color all in one. But then there's uneven edges where your brush might be a little too big. So I'd say go with the biggest brush that you're comfortable with in your space that you're coloring, but don't make yourself struggle, you know. It's fine to move on to a smaller brush. If you use a big brush, your movements of your hand will be a little looser, which could be very helpful to the style of your artwork. That's why I said go with the biggest brush that you're comfortable with. But there's no point in making yourself struggle just to use a certain size of a brush. It defeats the purpose, I guess. So just test and see what works for you. And that does not only apply to coloring books, but especially to your own artwork. When you say paint on a canvas or some paper, you're painting your own piece of artwork. You happen to use a medium that is applied with a brush. I'd say go for the biggest brush that you're comfortable with and see how different your hand moves, how it works with a bigger brush.
Let's go.
So at this point the cloud stops, but I'm gonna pull it down here because I think it just makes more sense. Yes, clouds could have very funny shapes and they could pretty much stop mid-air, but I'm not feeling it for this particular picture, so I'm gonna change that up. It's using my artistic license to do so. Just a little bit more of the gray. Now I need to choose a blue that is fitting for a autumn sky. And I'm looking at either Harbor Blue, which would be this one here, or the other one is ocean blue. That would be this one. I think I like this one a little more. This is just too intense for me. The other blues are, this is too turquoise, I think. And this one here, this could be fitting as well. So do I want a little more of a purplish sky, or... Yeah, I think so, because it pushes back the sky a little more. It goes into the background, which I think works really well. Also, it's more of a cooler color. The what's it called? Indian turquoise is a little too warm for me, which means it pulls into the foreground for one. And on the other hand, I used a lot of warm and neutral colors, and I need to have a few cooler shades as well. So, what's it called? Blue Harbor it is that I'm gonna use. So the upper part is done. Onto the wall. I think I want a little bit of a... I need a color for the grout. So I think I'd like a dark gray for that. And maybe a brownish gray for the bricks. So I'm gonna start with the grout because I do have some black and white here that I'm just gonna mix. And then maybe a little bit of a sand color and a little more white mixed into that for the bricks. I have to see that in a minute. Oh, and I see I forgot to color that part here. That's tree, or it's a hedge. So I'm taking the house green that I used before. I'm just gonna color that in. Totally forgot that last time. That's better. I hope you don't mind having an episode with quite a bit of time lapse in there. But I think it's maybe just a little bit boring to see that part of the coloring done in real time. I mean, if you are of a different opinion and you want to see that in real time in future videos, you gotta let me know in the comment section. And I'm gonna turn on some music again for even more time lapse. There we go. On to the bricks now. What do I want? I think I like this sand color. So let me grab that. It would be It has a lot of red. This one here. So this is the sand color. Think I like that a lot. No, that's the wrong one. Hold on. No, it could be the right one. Yeah, this is saffron. I used that on the tree. This is the correct one. So I'm gonna take this color and mix it into my gray. If I can manage. And that should be a sweet color for my bricks. So it has just a little bit of a warmer tint, which pulls the wall into the foreground where it should be. And it's light enough for me to add colored pencil on top later on. Want to use up all the pigment that is on my brush before I move to a smaller brush. That's why I'm kind of skipping the outside of the brick for now. Go. I think this one should be fine. Not using my smallest brush here, but the medium size. I think once I'm down at the leaves, I'm definitely using my smallest brush to color in the bricks in between. But I think up here I can very well manage with my medium-sized brush. I'm getting somewhere. So the Piper has to be colored. And I don't really have a skin tone. But I do have a cup of tea. I don't really have a skin tone here. So what I want to do is take a very light beige, so the, what's it called? Light buttermilk. And then once I'm going on top with colored pencils, I can give it a little more of a skin tone. So I want to start with that. And get the Piper colored. Alrighty. I know this looks totally weird with the beige skin, but again, this is the ugly stage of the painting, and once I do have the skin tones on top, it's gonna look totally different. For the lips, I want to use, what's that color? It's called Terra Coral. It's a very muted pinkish red, which leaves me enough opportunity to put down some brown tones, dark red tones and such, not have him look like he wears lipstick. But that's only something I can do with the colored pencils later. Kind of want to have that color somewhere else. Difficult. So I'm not gonna have it, because I think he's gonna wear red. Or maybe a little, yeah, I think he's gonna wear a reddish, a very dark red shirt, and maybe I should start with that, so that deep burgundy is the color I'm looking at. So I'm gonna put that down for his shirt. It's also quite a muted color. It's not that loud and vibrant, but I can very well layer colored pencils on top and make it a little more brownish looking, which would be a little more difficult with other shades of red. But I do like this one here. And it pops enough against the background. So there is something that pulls him into the foreground for one, but doesn't make him stand out like in a cartoonish way, especially once I start shading on top. This is, like I said just a hot minute ago, the ugly stage of the piece, and it could be discouraging. I understand that, but I think it's just important to keep going and see how much you can change and bring a piece of art together by just adding another layer later on, starting to shade and such. It just requires a little bit of trust in yourself. So next up, I want to color the wooden parts of the bagpipe, and I want to use a color I used before, which is the honey brown that I painted the roof with. It's also a warm color, and I think that works really well with the pipes. onto the hair, I want to use the same dark brown I used for the branches. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm moving on to the bagpipe, and I kind of want a yellowish tint, so I'm going with, that's the wrong one, I think the antique gold, yeah, that's the one that I want. So I'm gonna choose that as a base color. I can work with burnt umber or yellow ochre on top to make it a little more brownish once I'm moving to the colored pencil stage. So I'm going to use green foliage, the green that I used here on these leaves, for the tartan part. I'm gonna darken that up with the colored pencils quite a bit, but I don't want to take the dark green. So I'm taking the next lighter one just as a base to color that in, and then there's gonna be dark green and grays on top. So for the shirt, not the shirt, the button here, I want to go in with, what's it called? Spicy mustard. I use that in the trees. Just want to have a little bit more of a yellowish tint to that button here. And then I'm only going to color the shirt. And I do want the sand color that I mixed with the gray for the bricks. Gonna use that standalone for my shirt here. It's very similar to the light buttermilk color that I used for the skin, but you can see it's just a tiny little bit darker, and that, besides the ink lines that I can see underneath, tells me, okay, this is a different kind of a section in the picture. So this is definitely the ugly stage of the painting. And next week I'm gonna work on getting rid of the ugly and increasing the pretty. I'm gonna work with colored pencils on top. I haven't decided yet if I want to use my polychromos or the Prismacolors, but currently I'm gravitating towards the polychromos. For one, they're already on my desk every day, because the moment that I'm filming this, it's actually November, and the 30-day coloring challenge is going on and I'm participating. So I do have my polychromos on the desk, so why not use them for this picture also? But they're oil-based and not wax-based as the Prismacolors, and they behave a little differently on top of those deco art paints here. So I gotta think about it and decide what I want to do. Until then, I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna sit and think about what I want to use. And I thank you very much for watching. Again, I hope you are okay with this video being a little more time-lapsed in between, but looking at the clock on my video camera up there, real time for now with pee breaks and everything is 2 hours 48 minutes. So I wouldn't want you to sit through that in real time just for me to give this a base color. I think the interesting thing starts now, aside from using the major colors to block in. I thank you very much for watching. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. The colors that I used, all the names are compiled on today's blog post. It is going to be live an hour after this video goes live, so hop on over. The link to my webpage is in the description box, but you can also find all the links, like direct links to the blog posts on my Facebook page. That link is also in the description box below. Facebook is pretty much a hub for all my different kinds of social media sites to be well connected there. I need to have a sip of my tea. And I'm gonna see you next week. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, I would love for you to peruse the channel. I have different kinds of videos up and available for you. And I would love for you to subscribe. So have a great day, take good care, do some coloring, do some art. Bye.